Here we go.
Do it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Hello again, Coffiners. Welcome back to another episode of Coffin Talkin', where we unravel the mysteries, embrace the peculiar, and find humor in the unconventional world of funerals and death. Here's Frank.
Hi, Holly.
Hi,
Hi,
Dad.
Coffiners.
Hi, Coffiners.
Let's give them a moment to just say hi back. Fantastic.
Great.
I heard them all in unison saying, hey.
Yeah, we had a little Dora moment.
A little
Now
what?
say it back. The Dora
Oh.
moment. Where's the purple backpack? Just stares creepily at the TV or at you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dora.
Okay.
All right. Okay, this week was insane. It felt like every version of Whiplash.
And it hasn't ended, has it?
No.
Yeah. You're in the throes of it.
We're in the throes of the Whiplash.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're close to things coming out and figuring everything out. So for Coffiners, here's the lowdown. The house that we're currently renting, that we're living in, is being sold. We have loved living here. It's amazing. We have a little garden. We have 2 cats. We have green carpet in our bedroom, but we've come to terms with it. And we
There's green
love
carpet
the
in the
area.
funeral home, Holly.
Oh no, but that's a choice, isn't it?
I guess.
Makes the atmosphere more light.
Whatever. You were saying? Go ahead.
So anyways, yes, so we've loved living here, love the area. It's been fantastic. Really hoping to stay, but our contract, because we are poor renters, ends in October. So if someone bought the house before October, they could legally kick us out at any point after then. Okay, so in order to combat that, not a lot of contracts start in October. They're usually August, September at the start of the school year. We found a really, really, really great contract that we're super excited about. Decided to say yes on that. And we told the person that we were going to say yes. We were really excited. And then we get a call from our landlady a couple days later saying, hey, we really love you guys. Don't want you to have to leave. We're willing to extend your contract 6 months. So, which would put us to the end of Caden's first year of law school, which Caden started law school this week. Woohoo! Good job. Proud of you.
Woohoo! Way to go, Caden.
Yes. But anyways, horrible timing. Thanks a lot, Caden. So
first it's good, then it's wow, thanks a lot, Caden. Wow, you guys sound like you're married.
Right? Yeah, poor Caden, he's gotten more whiplash than just the series of events.
That's funny.
No, but so then we were super excited to stay, and then we were literally about to call the person and say, hey, just kidding, we don't need the contract anymore, when we get a call from our landlady saying, actually you can't, because we think that we're close to closing on a sale of the house, and that would probably halt the sale of the house. I'm fine doing this because she's been the most fantastic landlady in the world you've ever seen. She's
been very nice. At least from what I've heard.
So nice. Yeah. So nice. So I guess he never thought that we were backing out of the contract, so that's good. But it's felt like a lot to us. So now we are officially moving. We move out next Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess that seems like a lot to me.
You move out next Saturday?
Yeah.
I thought you had till the 31st.
Next Saturday is the 31st.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Next
word.
Sunday is September 1st.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. So kind of a crazy week. That's the shortened version of it, but it's felt insane. And a lot has just been up in the air, but it's feeling like we're coming down closer to the ground. So that's good.
That is good. So you just saying that right now reminds me of the Up movie where everything is being raised by balloons.
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden balloons start to either deflate or pop or whatever, and you start to come back to the ground, Holly.
Yeah. In my mind, it was like a gentle floating, but I guess that picture is like we're plummeting towards the ground.
Put on your knee
Whichever way
pads,
you wanna
Holly.
look at
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Put on the knee pads. How has your week been?
I would say, okay. I mean, we've gotten busier there. Last week, I think I said we were kind of slow. Didn't I?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we have gotten busier, and which has been nice, but a lot of nice people this week that I've actually been able to meet and speak with. And so it has been good in that regard.
That's always nice.
It is nice. And then people always concerned with the medical personnel, professionals at the hospital, and wondering why they aren't taking better care of their loved one, especially after they've passed. How come no one's returning their calls now that they've passed? So it's all just that normal effect of transition from life to death, and the care that people get more care while living than they do once they pass away. But they forget sometimes that there are family members, extended family, that still are interested in what is happening with their loved one.
Yeah, of course.
So a little frustration there, but great conversations with all in all, great conversations with people, and it's been good.
That's good.
Yeah. So I can't really complain about that.
Great. Is that all, or do you have anything fun to add?
No. Nothing fun this week, Holly. It's all been
all doom and gloom.
All doom and gloom, Holly. Nothing fun this week. I'm sorry. I'll look specifically for something fun next week, but nothing fun this week.
Stay away from the fun.
Do you know what I do for a living? No. No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, nothing really fun this week.
Nothing stands out to you.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, that's all right. There's always next week.
I will say I have a brother that's been going through some surgeries, and he seems like he's doing much better. So that is good. That
is very good.
Yeah. So it's always good to hear from him and hear that he's doing well. I was surprised. I didn't even realize he was going for surgery until he texted me the day after, or the day of, I think. And he says, "Hey, out of surgery, just letting you know everything went well." What?
Great.
Fantastic. Thanks for letting me know.
I was worried sick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's.
Was that today?
Oh, sure.
Boy. Yeah.
Are you sure you're not mistaken?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves some good news.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully he'll start feeling much better, and we can hope the best for him. That's all.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Very good news. Good family news.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then if that's it for both of us, let's go ahead and be frank.
Thanks, Holly. So today I want you to take for just a moment, Coffiners, if you're driving, and there's a little bit of an exercise I want you to do, but not if you're driving. You can go into a zone daze if you want. But Holly, I want you to try it while we're talking with one another. I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to think of the most rural location you can think of with a road.
Okay.
You got it?
Wait. Yes, I got it.
Okay. So I want you to describe to me for just a moment where your mind took you.
Okay, so my mind took me to a small town called Bay City in Texas. I lived there for a couple months and I fell in love with it. But it's kind of like, if you're not from Texas and you're imagining Texas, it's that. Like super backwoods. You have to take back roads to get anywhere. It feels like a little jungle in Texas. It's kind of interesting. It's like kind of swampy. area, trees everywhere, armadillos crossing the road, all that.
Dang armadillo.
They armadillo. I love them.
Love them.
Dead
Okay, so
raccoons on the side of the road. Yeah.
okay, well, that's a little more graphic than what we need, Holly.
Oh, sorry.
But okay,
Sorry, Coffiners.
no, but that's good. So I want the Coffiners now to reflect as I tell this story. I want you to reflect, and we're going to come right back to it towards the end of the story, and you'll understand why I asked you to do this. So when I was growing up, and I won't tell you what years they were, and maybe some of you Coffiners will know, and maybe you won't, but you can easily research it. But there were tons of research that was taking place regarding the effects of movies or video games on the lifestyle of people, specifically the youth, and if it changed, if it made them change their lifestyles, their characteristics, their personalities, things like that, depending upon what it was that they were actually watching. Now, fun fact, regardless of what I was told when I was growing up, right now, if you were to watch a horror movie, for instance, and then reflect upon it throughout your life, and you think that, oh, I can't keep thinking about it because I'll end up doing something terrible to someone else. Not true. They actually say that if you watch a horror movie, and if the general population of, say, 1,000 people watch the same horror movie, that crime initially will decrease by almost 1.5%.
That's so interesting.
It is weird, huh? That's an interesting fact. So keeping that in mind, the story I want to tell you today is regarding a family which became shattered. Totally shattered by the events of what occurred on one particular evening. So this particular family, there was a husband, a wife, a daughter, a son, and a younger son. So there were two sons. One was older, one was younger, and then his sister was, I think she was 2 years younger than him as well, but a very close-knit family, and were doing all sorts of things within the community, and just everyone loved this family. Everyone knew the family that was in this small community. So the older son began to go out with friends, and which was fine because the parents wanted him to go out and socialize, be friendly with other people,
be a teenager.
And yeah, exactly, and to live his life the way and to experience things that he wanted to experience or be a part of. Now, the one thing that you need to know and understand is that the one thing that they enjoyed doing most is going down and just running their motorcycles up and down this old deserted road.
Oh, okay.
And they liked chasing things. There were plenty of cows, and so they were trying to bother the cows in the fields, and they were just getting the little mayhem stuff. Then they got into video games. And when they started talking to me about the video games, in this particular family, when they started talking to me about the video games, they said that they saw a little bit of a change in him in regards to his characteristics and his personality as far as how he would interact with the family members. Then they started watching movies, and there was one particular movie that they went to, which I'm going to only identify by initials, which is NBK. You guys can look it up, figure out what it is, what movie you want. I don't care. That's not the point of the story. The story is that his personality had changed so drastically after watching this movie NBK that his parents began to get a little worried about him because that's all he would talk about. He would only talk about what it was he saw on the screen and what was actually transpiring, how he thought it was so cool that they were able to do what they did in the movie. So now let's take a look at that. They had gone to church on a particular Sunday. Everyone went. Everything seemed fine. And his parents noticed that he was leaving that Sunday evening to go to be with his friends. And they said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, I think we're going to go see the NBK movie again. And so now in my own family, I have children. I myself, if there's a really good movie, I don't mind going and spending $200, maybe 2 nights or twice, maybe 3 times seeing the same movie.
Mhm.
It's kind of a waste of time and money, but if I enjoyed it, then why not? So this particular son, this was his 6th time going to see the movie.
6?
Yes. Now I know that some of you are Star Wars fans out there, and some of you will say, that's nothing. I've seen Star Wars 13 times or 12 times, whatever the case might be. So now I am one that went to see Jaws 3 times. Okay, just so you know.
Okay, you know what the last movie that Kaden and I saw that was we went 3 times in theaters.
Hold on a minute. I think maybe you've told me. I don't know. Which one was it?
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Was it
is
because
so good?
was it because of his eyes?
This was before Cats. Oh my
That's
gosh, maybe that
funny.
softened us to get the Cats.
I was
So
wondering
good.
I was wondering why Nelson was suddenly wearing boots. But okay, anyway.
And a little hat.
Wow, Nelson, those look great on you. Okay.
Wow.
So anyway, this was his 6th time going to see the movie, and they kind of voiced a little bit of a concern about it. But, you know, being a growing young man, they decided, well, you know what? He's still with his friends. He's doing what he wants to do. He's having fun. He's out there being with, and I guess being a part of community and still going out there. So they went to dinner first. And the friends that he was with, he went with 4 particular friends that particular evening. And one of them brought a gun.
What?
And yeah, one of them brought a gun.
Just
and
out of the blue?
Just out of the blue. No one expected anyone to have a gun or anything like that. But he just made an announcement over dinner that he had a gun. And so
Just casually.
yeah. And so the gun was in the car. And after the movie, they were driving around in the car and stuff. And then they got this really weird idea.
Oh.
And that was, hey, my dad's out of town. My mom and sister are home along with my little brother. Wouldn't it be cool if we did something like we saw in the movie?
Oh my gosh. No. What?
Yes. So what they did is they carefully and stealthily walked into the house, his own home, and then walked up to the bedroom where his mother was located, put a pillow over her face, and then shot her in the face. Yeah. And then casually moved to the next room where his sister was laying in bed asleep and did the exact same thing. So and then he said goodbye to his friends, went to his room, and went to bed.
He didn't kill the little brother.
No. And so when the little brother woke up the following morning, he was yelling for mom to, because apparently she made breakfast for him every morning.
Sure.
So here this little boy was screaming for his mother, saying, I'm hungry, I need to eat. And no mother.
Oh no.
No one
Did
came.
he go up?
He went up and then found the blood-soaked pillowcase, sheets, and then ran to his sister to wake her up and saw the same thing. And so he ran to the room where his brother was sound asleep.
How do you sleep after that?
I know, and then shook him and said something's wrong with mom and the sister. And he just woke up and he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. They're probably in a better place." That's what he said to his brother. So he said, "No, you don't understand. I need you to go into the room. I need you to check on mom. Call dad. Something's wrong." So when they called the dad, or he didn't, the older brother that did the shooting did not call the dad. The younger brother did and said, "Dad, something's wrong with mom." And so when
how old was the younger brother? Do you know?
He was 10.
Oh my god.
And so the older brother was 17. And then the sister was right in between, 13, 14, thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
And so suddenly the father was starting to make phone calls to the family saying, "What's going on? I've just gotten a call from a neighbor. There's cops at the house." And so he, over the phone, out of the state, had discovered that his wife and daughter had been shot to death in the evening.
Oh my gosh.
And he started immediately asking about his 2 boys. Are they okay? And so found out that, yes, they were both still fine, up and about and doing well. And as the father came home, of course, the 2 children had been, or the mother and the daughter had been moved to a mortuary. And they had come in and started making some funeral arrangements for the mother and the daughter. And he was just devastated. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't look me in the eye without crying. And he said, "How does this happen? I hope they catch the SOB, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I hope they catch him, and hope they do the worst they can do to him."
Right.
Now, just think about that comment, and you know a little bit about the story right now. The father knows nothing as of yet, and so in the course of the investigation, they of course interviewed the father to find out exactly where he was, and if anyone can corroborate where he was, and establishing an alibi.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with the son, and the son started making all sorts
Making
of
stuff up.
yes, making things up. And but he did slip up, and he did mention that he was with his friends. So when the friends were called in, they immediately fessed up.
100%. Yeah.
And so they put him in a bad position. But all four of I think there were four, maybe six of them, were charged with murder. But the father was totally, totally devastated with regards to his own son killing his mother and his sister, or his mom, or his father's wife, and then being so nonchalant about it.
Right.
And so in the course of the interview, the father had admitted to me that in the course of the interview with the son, he just, with his friends, decided it would be kind of fun to see if that was really true to life, what they had seen on the big screen.
So the movie was a movie about murder.
Yes.
I'm sure a documentary of some sort.
No.
About a family annihilator. What was it?
Oh, I can't tell you.
Was it fiction, or was it like...
I don't even know if it was fiction or not. It was a very popular movie when it first came out. And I'll just leave it at that. And that was probably in the early 90s, maybe mid 90s. But if you want to look it up, look up movies that start with NBK. And so you'll know what I'm talking about. And I watched this movie, and I thought to myself, only because of interest, I did it for research, Holly. So
was it after you heard or you had this case that you watched the movie, or you had watched it? Oh, okay.
No, I watched it after because I wanted to know if there was a triggering mechanism in the movie that would have caused them to be triggered to actually want to do what it is they did. And remember, in my earlier years, we had been talked at regarding movies and video games, because video games would just barely hit the scene, at least that I could remember. They had just barely hit the scene, and they were worried about the personality trait characteristics that might change in individuals as they watched these movies and played these games. Now, I can't tell you that if it's happened anywhere else. All I can tell you is what I experienced at the time. So here the son was, and the father looked at his son, and he looked at me and he said, I should be charitable, or how did he phrase it? I should be wanting my son to be cared for, watched over, protected in the penal system. But he said, I don't care if they electrocute the kid. And that was one of the hardest things I could have ever heard a parent say about their son, especially after committing the 2 homicides in his own family. I knew exactly then where the father stood with regards to the relationship with his son. So that being said, the young man was eventually, all 4 of them were eventually found guilty in committing murder. Now, I want you to go back. We had in a church, and this is probably the most surreal scene ever. Very seldom do you go to a service where there's more than 1 casket.
Right.
Now, I have been to a service where there's been 4. And it's a very hard thing to be with 4 caskets, 4 individuals that have passed away, their family that's standing there around trying to greet everybody or make themselves available to well-wishers. But for these 2 caskets, it was one of the, and I think it was the first time that I had ever seen 2 caskets together in a room. And it was kind of shocking to me to think that
jarring.
They're both, jarring. To think that they're both a mother and a daughter together died in the same evening, different rooms, same home. But in my own mind, with regards to a religious background that I have, thinking, can you believe that the 2 of them are lucky enough to be together?
I know.
And
that's
so,
the thing too, is if you are religious, like if you find comfort in that and believe in an afterlife if it had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
At least they're together.
Right. And that's the way I thought. So as now, once the services were over, and it's very interesting how they did the service, because individuals that would speak specific. They had specific individuals that would talk specific to her, specific to the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, different individuals. And then there were 4 individuals that would speak to both, and those were family members that would say something regarding both, because they were able to see the both interact with each other. And the husband made, didn't speak, but he wrote out his thoughts, and someone read the thoughts. But in his thoughts or comments, he had actually stated that he had never seen a more close relationship between a parent and a daughter or child than what was experienced between his wife and their daughter. And he just, in his comments, said, "I thank God every day that the two of them were not separated in any way." And so I thought to myself, okay, finally, maybe he's getting softer a little bit about, how he's going to react to his family and how he's going to react to this entire situation. But then the services, and that's how it ended. So his words were the final comments to the service. They had a final song and a prayer. And then what they did was very interesting to me. Do you remember these old buckboards that have the big wheels? They're horse drawn. So there's a place for the person that's guiding the horses to sit, but then there's there's slats on the side, and then there's a wide open bed.
Yeah.
No tailgate, but it's a farmish looking piece of equipment. Probably to carry bales of hay and stuff like that. Well, there was one parked right outside the church, and slowly we had 16 individuals carrying 2 caskets that were set on that bunk. Bunk board. I don't remember what they're called. I should have looked it up, but I think the proper term is a bunk board. But they then slowly placed the caskets on them, on this carrying device, this bunk board, and then they all just stepped back and then just slowly walked behind the casket as it was being horse drawn and carried to the cemetery. Now, the cemetery was about a mile from where the services took place, and yet no one drove to the cemetery unless they were so elderly that they had to. But everyone else chose to just walk behind. And it was it was a beautiful day. I remember a nice crisp breeze happening, and the individuals behind just slowly and casually walking as though that's the final piece of respect they could offer to this mother and daughter. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to ask you to think back what you thought about when you went back to when I asked you to close your eyes and think about the most rural and remote area you could think of that had a road. Mm-hmm. And so if you're thinking, Coffiners, about what it was you were thinking of, I'm going to just kind of draw you a mental picture. Imagine, if you will, walking down a gravel road or a dirt road with some gravel on it, not all of it, but there were ruts already made in the gravel, which the horse-drawn carriage would actually carry the caskets on. And then to your right is a nice mowed green pasture. To your left is a field full of hay or alfalfa that's still growing. And you're just walking, and you can look to the left, and you can see that alfalfa just wave slowly but surely in the breeze. And as you come to an intersection up there where there's just a cross intersection where you're having to turn right, not one person is passing through that intersection. Everything is just so quiet and still that you make that turn, and you can hear the sneeze of someone that's walking behind the caskets to the final resting place. You're walking and walking. To your left is an old style kind of old church that is no longer used as a religious place anymore, but you can see the flaking off of the paint on the sides, the steeple as it kind of tilters just a little bit, just what you would call an icon in an old hometown, kind of a Norman Rockwell setting with that chapel in the background. Cows in the pasture, dogs in the distance barking, hens and chickens, turkeys, everything you can hear from a farm field and farm type environment as you're making your way to the cemetery. And as you pull into the cemetery, the carriage stops, and the pallbearers have decided that they're from the gate entrance. They're going to carry the caskets to the gravesite. Now, we've talked about pallbearers before having to be strong and carry and being able to lift over certain objects. This was a flat cemetery. There were no headstones to maneuver around, but the walk was a distance. It was probably I'm going to guess probably 1,000 feet from where, maybe half a mile. No, is that? Anyway, it was a distance, and so I found it very interesting that each casket had 3 on each side, and then they would just peel off when they took. And I don't know if they were counting their steps or what, but it was like every 25 paces, the person in the front would peel off. The people behind them would move forward. So there was and then there were 2 people in reserve.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So there were 2 people in reserve at the back end of each of those caskets that would just step in and take the casket while the first person stepped away and backed around. I thought it was if I had a picture, if I could have seen a video of it, you would have thought that it was synchronized.
Mm-hmm.
It was very well done. They got to the casket, and one of the grave sites had to be mock set up. And what I mean by mock set up, because they were going to be buried side by side, but because they were side by side, they couldn't dig both graves at the same time. So one grave had to still remain filled, and that was the one that was the mock setup. The mother was the one that went over the open grave, and so she was, after the services, the committal services, she was lowered into the ground, and then everybody waited. Why? And this takes a while, and I'm surprised that they would never do it today. But I'm surprised that the cemetery allowed them to do it. They completely did her burial, then moved the daughter's casket off the grave site. The backhoe came back in, dug another grave, placed there was a barrier between both graves, and then dug out her grave, set the lowering device back on, lowered her casket, then completed the gravesite there. So they were both in the cemetery itself. I'll bet it was 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Getting all the burial taking place. And so this particular group began singing a song. It's titled Come Thou Fount. And Holly, do you have the lyrics to Come Thou Fount?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can look it up real fast, it would be interesting for, I think it was the first and the second verse that they specifically focused on. And I think that as we listen to what those lyrics say, you can understand a little bit why that belief would have come into play about what was happening in the lives of this mother and daughter.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy, never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Sorrowing I shall be in spirit, till released from flesh and sin. Yet from what I do inherit, here thy praises I'll begin. Here I raise my Ebenezer, here by thy great help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home.
Thank you. So there's 2 things that caught my mind and attention as I was sitting there listening to this. It talks about the mount and so every single one of us have what we call tribulations or trials in our life, and how we choose to rise to that mount, climb the mount, see it from the summit, look back and say, yeah, that was a learning experience. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm hearing this song. And then the second one, please bless us with thy mercy, with thy grace, that we too might be able to sing thy praises as we leave this life. And as I was listening, and I'm just paraphrasing, so you'll understand. But as I was listening to this group sing this song, I had never focused more on words than I had at that very moment. And I just thought, I don't know who led the group or whose idea it was to start singing the song. But by the time everybody was singing that song, there was nothing more than a a strong welling inside my soul that told me there is more than this. There has to be. And so even just the simple faith through song or through a hymn, allowing another person to be raised up from whatever afflictions they may be having, and then to just see the husband singing at his top, in the top of his voice, in acclamation of showing a belief as what it was he was singing, that he knew simply by the song that he was singing that this was not the end, that there was more to go and more to be. And so for me, you know, as tragic as the scene may be between the death of a mother, a father, or a mother, or a wife, a daughter, a sister, there's still, I hope. And I don't know what happened to this young man. I don't know what happened to the relationship between the father and the son. I hope that it was mended. I just don't know. And so but every time I think of this story and look back on it, the things that I can think of is, number one, and this is just now being selfish again. I've seen plenty of movies that could have caused me to do something that was totally inappropriate to our society and a community, but I didn't. Because I think that we have that agency, and you have the ability to choose what it is you want to be, what it is you want to do. I chose not to. And the second item that I would take away from this particular story is that sometimes we're told that, like in media, we're told that because we're doing a certain thing, we're going to turn out a certain way. I don't believe that at all. I never have. I don't see any evidence of that at all. People, when they choose to do something different or become a menace to society, choose to do so because they choose to do so. Not because anyone's forcing them, but they use that as a crutch. They go ahead and say, oh, well, an excuse to do what it is they're doing. And I don't mean to be on a soapbox, and I'll end it right there. But I just seriously think about a life that brought 3 lives into the world, snuffed by one of those lives that she brought into the world, and then one of the other lives that was also brought into the world stopped by him as well. So he wasn't able to attend the service, obviously.
Yeah.
And he was not. To hear the father speak, I don't think he had any type of a sorrowful bone in his body. He knew what he had done, and he did it because he thought that it would be cool. That's all. So anyway, that's that story. And I don't mean to be a downer, but hopefully you guys will learn from this as well. But don't believe, and I'd like to know if coffiners have actually had experiences where their demeanor, their character, their personality have changed because of a simple thing that they either watched or participated in. I'd be interested in knowing. I know that can affect the more you participate in something, but by watching, I don't know that has I don't know. What are your thoughts, Holly?
I think it can change your mental state.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, even just social media, I can tell when I've been on social media too much because I start to feel more anxious. I start to feel depressed and just dulled, muted.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
And so I think it can.
Desensitized?
Yeah. It can desensitize you to a lot of things. It disconnects you from the physical world until maybe you're this guy and you're obsessing over it until that becomes your world.
Yes.
And then to the point where, I don't know, he couldn't have been feeling love for his mother and his sister because he went and he killed them.
I don't know. I don't know. I think that he would still have love. I just think he was in the mindset that I wonder if this would really happen. I wonder if they would really die.
Right. Oh my gosh. And I wonder too, I don't know if this is all speculation. Yeah, conjecture. But just the fact that you said that his mother and sister had the closest relationship that he had ever seen, his father had ever seen. Was he jealous of that? And he also made the point of saying, my father's out of town. So he wouldn't have done it if his father was in town.
Well, I think his father would have stopped him from killing the sister. Anyway, if he'd heard the gunshot
Right.
going off, he would probably turn the gun on his son and killed his son. Probably. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of a
It's just
sad thing.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a hard thing to conjecture about because no one ever hopes that they're in that scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that you can become desensitized to certain things if you are choosing to immerse yourself time and time again and choosing to disconnect from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It really is.
Yeah.
And you see the rates right now of teenage girls and boys and the rates of depression and suicidal thoughts or tendencies all linked
Or
to social
suicide.
media. I
Yeah,
know.
they go through with it. They don't just talk about
I
it.
know.
Really.
And I wonder if it's that same thing. Like, am I actually going to die? Like, is this
Yeah, it might be.
real?
I don't know. It might be.
What's real? It's just,
Yeah.
it's too virtual right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think technology is fantastic and it's done so many fantastic things for society, but that truly is a blot, I think.
I would be interested in knowing if Coffiners were raised like I was with thoughts or with topics almost on a weekly basis that you needed to curb your video gaming and the movies you watched because you were going to turn out to be someone you totally didn't want to be. And I don't know. It would be interesting to hear what your thoughts or comments were. So, and then maybe we'll refer to those later. But yeah, right now, it's very interesting to me if you had any type of experience with that at all. But let us know what you think of this episode. And remember, I will remind you, Coffiners, this is Coffin Talkin'. So anything that we talk about revolves around the funeral industry. So I just want you to be aware that it's not all. I'm going to go back to that story just a minute. And what I wanted to say before they got to the cemetery, in my mind, as I was walking with the main group, as I'm looking to the left of that church, to the right to the mowed pasture, and then the smells that were available, and then just reality. As you turn right around and right in front of you are two people that were part of this life, but now you see two caskets side by side, identical. And they're sitting side by side, and you recognize that, hey, just a week ago, these two people were up and about, and no fault of their own are now lying in a state that, mortality can't bring them back from. So,
Right.
Anyway. All right, Holly, that's it. Sorry to get off on kind of a soapbox. Soapbox.
Soapbox.
Yeah, soap dish. We're going back to your Dawn thing a week ago or so, whatever. Yeah, we love that soap dispenser, Holly.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazing. Oh, jeez. Anyway, I don't mean to make light of this type of situation where we're all of a sudden laughing about things afterwards, but life does go on, and it has to go on. And this happened, I'll bet, 35 years ago.
Wow.
And so I'm just, anyway, I would be interested in knowing. Right now you hear this kind of the same thing with these violent shoot 'em up games, and they're so real looking. Oh my gosh.
I know.
And so, yeah, anyway, that's the story here. Just take precautions. Just watch what people are doing.
Yeah, I think we should encourage Coffiners this week too, if you can. And if you can't, there's something to be said about that. Disconnect from your phone a bit more.
Yeah.
Or TV or video games or anything that disconnects you from the people around you.
Yeah.
And from society and reality.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, try to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones. Put your priorities where they need to be, really.
And remember, Holly, what our adage, not our motto or our request at dinner time? What was it? No electronics.
Oh, yeah. No phones at the table.
Yeah, no phones. What are you doing with the phone? Put it down. But someone's texting me. Put it down.
I don't care.
Yeah, no phones at the table. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So, anyway. Yeah, it's a good thing. And if you put the phone down or the electronics, the social media, you'd be amazed at what's going on around you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, on that, let us know what you think of this episode. Email us at letsbefrank@coffintalkin.com or send us a DM on Instagram. And we will talk at you next week.
Thanks, Confidenters. Have a great week.
Thanks.